When a building is like starting to visibly lean to one side, a normal contractor will come in and just talk about pragmatic solutions. They'll suggest reinforcing the foundation, maybe adding some heavy steel supports to the load-bearing walls.
Remember, you patch the cracks, you stabilize what's already there, and you just sort of hope it holds up against the next big storm.
Exactly. You do what you can. But today's source text doesn't just want to patch the cracks of human society. It wants a totally new kind of gravity.
Yeah, we're looking at an architect who looks at that leaning building, shakes their head, and basically says the only solution is to demolish the entire structure, melt down the steel, salt the earth, and rebuild something fundamentally alien to what was there before.
It's wild. So we have a stack of translated excerpts on the table today from a text called Symbols of the Lifechanyuan Era. It's by an author named Suofeng.
Yes, and it's quite a read.
It really is. And our mission for this deep dive is to objectively map out what is honestly one of the most highly specific, uncompromising, and just radical blueprints for humanity's future that I think I have ever encountered.
It is breathtakingly sweeping in its scope. And, to be clear right up front for you listening, we are exploring this text today strictly as a fascinating philosophical and spiritual framework.
Right. We aren't endorsing these viewpoints or validating their claims at all.
Exactly. We're simply unpacking the original source material to understand its truly unique systemic vision of a utopian society.
And when we use the word radical, we are not talking about sweeping tax reform or a new global treaty.
Oh, not even close.
No. This text advocates for an upcoming 1,000-year era that requires the complete unyielding eradication of countries, of religions, of political parties, and even, which completely derailed my train of thought when I read it, the eradication of the traditional family unit.
Yeah, that part is definitely a shock to the system.
Totally. Okay, let's unpack this. Where do we even start?
Well, to understand where this text insists we need to go, we first have to understand its severe diagnosis of where we are right now.
Okay.
The present day.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, utopian literature always operates on a specific mechanical principle. You cannot justify extreme, world-altering solutions unless the current world is perceived as irreparably broken.
And the text lays out 8 characteristics of our current era. And, man, broken feels like an understatement. It paints a remarkably grim picture.
It really does.
It basically defines our present reality as an era of total disorder, pointing to constant overt and covert fighting everywhere. It lists nations fighting nations, political parties wrestling for dominance, and religions clashing over ideology.
The author argues that our entire current society is held together by nothing more than friction and conflict. And it's all driven by a hollow, relentless, materialistic pursuit.
Yeah, just chasing things.
Exactly. There is a very striking, blunt phrase used in the text to describe modern governance. It says we live in an era where power flows purely from the barrels of guns. The barrels of guns.
Wow. Meaning that underlying all our laws and diplomacy is just the threat of violence. The winners make the rules, and the losers just have to suffer in silence.
So it essentially claims that what we call civilization is just a very polite veneer over raw, coercive power.
Which is a deeply Hobbesian view of the world, honestly.
No, Thomas Hobbes, right?
Yeah, Hobbes argued centuries ago that human life in its natural state is nasty, brutish, and short. And he said that we only behave because a larger authority terrifies us into compliance.
Okay, so this text takes a really similar stance on our modern institutions.
It does. It describes humanity as being locked in this massive seesaw struggle. On one side, you have truth, goodness, and beauty. And on the other side, falsity, evil, and ugliness.
But the crucial assertion the text makes is that right now, in our present day, falsity and evil have the definitive upper hand.
Yes. It claims people are walking around with perpetually anxious minds and gloomy hearts.
And the text actually goes so far as to bluntly call our modern condition Satan's reign, which is certainly not pulling any punches.
No, it's very definitive.
If we think about human society like an engine, the text is saying we are driving a rusted, seized-up engine that is literally tearing itself apart from its own internal friction.
That's a great way to visualize it.
But I have to push back a little on the source material here. I mean, is it really just a binary seesaw struggle where evil is outright winning?
You think it's exaggerating?
Well, I just wonder, is the text intentionally leveraging our very real modern anxieties, like the geopolitical tensions, the endless doom scrolling, the economic stress, to magnify the problem so its upcoming radical solutions look like the only way out?
That magnification is exactly how the rhetorical architecture of utopian texts functions.
Oh, really? So it's a known strategy.
Absolutely. If the engine just needs a little oil, you don't need a revolution, you just need the mechanic. But if the engine is defined as Satan's reign and is actively destroying the vehicle, well, then tearing the whole thing apart isn't just justified. It becomes a moral imperative for survival.
Which brings us directly to the teardown phase.
Right.
Because building directly on the friction of the current world, the conversation shifts to what the text claims must be eliminated to achieve peace.
You can't fix the rusted engine. You have to melt it down entirely.
Exactly, melt it down. And this introduces the first half of what the text calls the 8 major qualities of the new era.
Right, the new era.
To achieve this promised 1,000-year era of peace, certain core human institutions won't just be reformed, they will completely disappear.
For you listening, imagine your passport becoming a museum artifact.
Literally. The text explicitly lists the disappearance of countries, the disappearance of political parties, and the disappearance of all religions.
It also lists the disappearance of war, crime, hunger, and disease.
Which, I mean, eliminating war, crime, hunger, and disease is pretty standard utopian fare, right? Everyone signs up for that.
Oh, for sure. Eliminating countries and religions is vastly more controversial. But you can follow the internal logic of the text.
How so?
Well, if nations and computing dogmas are the primary engines of the friction we just discussed, removing them removes the fight.
Okay, yeah, that tracks. But then we hit the 4th disappearance on that list, and here's where it gets really interesting.
The big one.
Yeah. The text states that families will disappear. The entire concept of family life will just dissolve.
It is undeniably the most jarring item on the list because it attacks a universally held human value.
It really is. Families are universally seen as the bedrock of society. They are the safe harbor in a chaotic world.
Right.
To suggest resetting humanity to factory settings by deleting the family unit, it just feels incredibly counterintuitive to building a peaceful society. I mean, why delete the family unit?
It feels counterintuitive until we examine the why from the author's highly specific perspective.
Wait, I'm listening.
Think about what a family actually is at its structural core. Much like a nation with borders, or a political party with a platform, or a religion with a dogma, a family is inherently tribal.
Huh. Tribal.
Yeah. It relies on bloodlines to create an exclusive us and to separate them.
Meaning, like, I am biologically and socially wired to prioritize my child over a stranger's child, my family's security over your family's security.
Precisely. Bloodlines naturally create divisions of loyalty and encourage resource hoarding. You want to leave an inheritance for your kids, not someone else's.
Wow. Okay, I see where this is going.
The text's ultimate goal is a truly global, unified identity. A world where every single person views every other person equally as members of a single undivided human collective.
So if you want macro harmony, you cannot tolerate micro loyalties.
That is the exact mechanism at play. To achieve absolute undivided unity, any earthly division that demands exclusive loyalty has to be dissolved.
That is mathematically logical within its own framework, I guess, but it is a massive psychological leap.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine telling someone today that loving their own child more fiercely than a stranger's child is actually a moral failing that prevents world peace.
It's a very tough pill to swallow.
It really is. And it immediately begs a massive logistical question for this new era. If all traditional structures of authority and allegiance are gone, no governments, no political parties, no religious leaders, and not even family patriarchs or matriarchs, a colossal power vacuum is created.
Yes, someone has to be in charge.
Right. Who actually runs the world?
Well, the text anticipates that vacuum and provides a completely new management structure.
Okay, what is it?
It describes a profound societal shift away from the pursuit of material comfort and toward the pursuit of spiritual satisfaction.
Interesting.
In this era, global production, logistics, and daily life will be, quote, steered by saints and managed by sages through global coordination.
Steered by saints and managed by sages. It sounds incredibly poetic, but who gets to decide who the saints and sages are?
It's a great question.
I mean, how do they manage global supply chains, like deciding where wheat is grown or where steel is forged, without political parties or nations or treaties?
To understand how they manage things, think of it like the autonomic nervous system in the human body.
The nervous system.
Yeah. Your conscious brain doesn't have to hold an election to decide to send white blood cells to a cut on your finger, right?
Right?
Or debate whether your lungs should take another breath. The system simply senses the need and directs the resources instantly and harmoniously.
Ah, okay. So the sages act as this autonomic nervous system for the globe. They aren't politicians writing laws.
No, not at all.
They are just facilitators directing resources where they are needed without the friction of national interests blocking the way.
Yes. The implication is that in an era focused on spiritual satisfaction, the selfish hoarding of materials just vanishes.
So people just share willingly.
Exactly. The sages aren't enforcing compliance with the barrels of guns anymore because they are coordinating an already willing, spiritually awakened population.
That sounds like a massive shift in human nature.
It is. This is heavily reminiscent of Plato's concept of the philosopher kings. Enlightened individuals who rule not because they seek power, but because their wisdom makes them the only logical choice to guide society.
Oh, the philosopher kings. I like that analogy. The text also mentions that this society is underpinned by a deep knowledge of what it calls the greatest creator.
Yes, there's a strong spiritual core.
Right, and it states that humanity will live in harmony not just with nature, but with other advanced lives in the universe, with the word lives fully capitalized in the text.
It signals a total paradigm shift in how humanity views its place in the cosmos. We are no longer isolated. We become part of a much wider, harmonious cosmic neighborhood.
So, if human friction is entirely eliminated and these sages handle all the global logistics seamlessly, what does that actually free the human mind to do on a daily basis?
Well, let's look at the daily reality.
Yeah, let's move from this high-level global management down to the actual lived experience. If I am a citizen in the Lifechanyuan era, what does my Tuesday look like?
What's fascinating here is how the text details what it calls the 8 additional features, or the minor features, of this daily reality. And they are extraordinary.
I'm ready. Lay them on me.
Let's look at the physical environment first. Deserts will become oases. The weather will be consistently favorable with distinct, pleasant seasons.
Okay, nice.
Furthermore, natural disasters like earthquakes and violent storms will be greatly reduced.
Wait. I have to stop you there. Eradicating crime through social engineering is one thing, but how does an evolution in human morality somehow solve plate tectonics and stop earthquakes?
I know, it sounds wild, but it requires understanding the underlying philosophical mechanism of Sofeng's worldview.
Okay, explain that to me.
In many esoteric and spiritual traditions, the physical universe is viewed as a direct reflection of collective spiritual alignment.
Ah, the macrocosm reflects the microcosm.
Exactly. The text implies that the Earth's turbulence like storms and earthquakes is physically linked to the chaotic, destructive energy of Satan's reign.
Oh, wow. So our bad vibes are causing earthquakes.
Pretty much. Once humanity aligns its collective consciousness with peace, the Earth literally, physically stabilizes in response.
That is fascinating. Spiritual peace literally manifests as geological peace.
It's a very holistic view of reality.
Okay, so the earth is calm. What about the societal day-to-day?
Societally, the text claims we will reach a state of perfect, unshakable order. It uses a really beautiful, evocative idiom. It says doors are not bolted at night, and no one pockets anything found on the ground.
So complete trust replaces suspicion.
Exactly. Human dignity is no longer judged by superficial metrics like money, power, or fame. Those are considered primitive, evil practices of the past.
Which sounds incredibly refreshing, honestly.
And it goes further. Forms of love between men and women will also diversify, freed from the old tribal constraints of the traditional family.
So people are just free to connect. All of that paints a beautifully serene picture. But then we hit the biological leaps, which honestly stopped me in my tracks.
Oh yeah, the biology.
The text states definitively that human lifespans will extend to about 500 years.
5 centuries.
And furthermore, the time and manner of a person's death will be entirely self-determined.
It fundamentally rewrites the human relationship with mortality.
Let's really chew on the implications of that for a second. For you listening, think about your current career path or your retirement plan. And now stretch that over 5 centuries.
It's hard to even conceptualize.
It is. But more than just the length, think about the psychology of self-determined death. We spend so much of our current lives terrified of the unknown timing of death. We buy insurance, we obsess over health trends, we worry.
Right, it's a huge source of our friction.
Removing that fear seems like the ultimate liberation, like playing a video game in God mode or having a bottomless gift card. But on the flip side, you live for half a millennium and eventually you have to actively schedule your own exit.
Yeah, that is a heavy choice.
Is that a blessing of ultimate autonomy or an immense, crushing psychological burden? Imagine waking up on year 499 and having to decide if you wrap it up this week or push it to next month.
It requires a level of emotional and spiritual maturity that is really hard for our modern minds to even fathom,
I don't think I could handle it today, honestly.
which loops perfectly back to the text's core premise.
Yay.
You absolutely cannot have this reality with our current minds.
Ah, the rusted engine.
Yes, the rusted engine has to go. You need a completely spiritually evolved populace to handle a 500-year lifespan, absolute freedom, and a self-determined death without going completely mad from boredom or existential dread.
That makes perfect sense within the text, but it brings us to the most difficult question. The elephant in the room.
How do we get there?
Exactly. We have Satan's reign on one side of the historical bridge, our current world of friction, borders, and families. And on the other side of the bridge, we have this 1,000-year, 500-year lifespan, no locked doors utopia. How on earth does humanity cross that bridge? What are the actual mechanics of this transition?
The mechanics outlined in the source material are incredibly sobering.
Really? How so?
Well, the text explains that this era will be created by the academicians of Lifechanyuan. These academicians are essentially this spiritually awakened vanguard who have embraced this blueprint.
Okay, so the spiritually awakened lead the way. That sounds peaceful enough.
But the transition itself is not described as a gentle, democratic political handover. It involves what the text starkly calls a sharp decline in the human population.
A sharp decline. Wow, that is a massive dark bottleneck for humanity to squeeze through.
It is. Alongside this massive reduction in human numbers, countless extinct species will supposedly reappear, and the Earth will purify itself.
So the planet cleans house.
Yes, restoring its ecosystems to a pristine, pre-human state. The air, water, and land are completely cleansed of industrial pollution.
So the environment hits a total miraculous reset button, but humanity shrinks drastically in the process.
That's the trade-off presented.
It's a terrifying caveat to an otherwise incredibly bright utopian vision. How does the text even justify this?
The justification hinges on a specific mechanism. The text is very clear that this transition is not based on human will.
Wait, what do you mean?
It's not a policy decision made by politicians or generals. It is described as the inevitable evolution of life itself. The author grounds this in the law and order of Tao.
Okay, so how does the text define Tao in this context?
Here, Tao represents the ultimate, unchangeable natural order of the universe. It is the cosmic current.
The cosmic current, okay.
The text states simply, if you follow the Tao, you flow into the new era. If you reverse it, or fight against it with your materialism and tribalism, you will naturally be abandoned by it.
Much like a species failing to adapt to a changing climate.
Exactly. It frames the transition not as a war, but as cosmic natural selection.
That is intense.
It is, and this raises an important question regarding how the text views its own readers and its critics.
Oh, I bet it has some thoughts on critics.
It sure does. The author writes that people with spiritual senses will immediately perceive the magnitude and truth of this era and strive for it. But people without those spiritual senses will find this whole concept ridiculous, ignorant, and nonsensical.
Come on. That is a classic rhetorical trap.
It really is.
It's a perfectly sealed defense mechanism.
Yeah.
As a reader, you are placed in this unfalsifiable loop.
Yep. If you agree, you're enlightened.
Right. If you agree with the text, congratulations, you possess advanced spiritual senses. But if you disagree, or if you simply point out that maybe erasing families and experiencing a sharp population decline is a bit extreme, the text preemptively dismisses you.
It says, well, you just lack spiritual sense. You are too tethered to the old blind world to see the truth.
It effectively creates an airtight in-group and an out-group based entirely on one's willingness to accept the radical vision.
It does. But within the internal logic of the text, it isn't trying to be manipulative. It's merely stating what it believes is a fact of cosmic evolution.
Basically, you either perceive the new gravity and adapt, or you are crushed by the inevitable collapse of the old building.
Exactly.
So, what does this all mean for us, reading it today? Let's zoom out and synthesize this incredible journey we've just been on.
Good idea.
We have a source text that envisions a radical 1,000-year era, an era belonging exclusively to those who dedicate themselves entirely to revering nature, life, the greatest creator, and humanity as a whole.
Right.
But getting to that 500-year lifespan, getting to that perfect environmental harmony, requires the absolute dismantling of our current world order.
It is a blueprint that demands everything to give everything. It requires the erasure of nations, the dissolution of families, a drastic population decline, and the handing over of all global logistics to an unelected nervous system of sages.
And whether you view this as an inspiring, deeply spiritual prophecy from the Lifechanyuan community or simply as a fascinating, extreme philosophical thought experiment, it acts as an incredible mirror for the reader.
A mirror reflecting our modern world.
Exactly. It reflects our deepest, most potent modern anxieties back at us. It looks at our political divisions, our endless global conflicts, our environmental decay, and it boldly claims the only way out is a total, uncompromising paradigm shift.
It forces you to evaluate the actual weight of our current societal structures. For you listening, we'd love to know what stands out to you in this blueprint.
Yeah, what grabs your attention?
Is it the sheer biological leap of living for 500 years and having to actively choose when you pass away? Is it the logistical marvel of global coordination by sages without any political parties or borders getting in the way?
Or is it the profound, jarring social shift of eliminating nations and families altogether to force global unity?
Those are the kinds of massive structural questions that really stick with you long after the deep dive is over.
They really do. And I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over on your own today. We spent a lot of time talking about all the things this text says we absolutely must get rid of to achieve perfect, unshakable peace. But think deeply about what those things actually represent in our daily lives. If a perfectly harmonious, frictionless world requires the complete erasure of our diverse countries, our differing religions, our messy, passionate political debates, and even our own fiercely loyal family units.
Does achieving utopia actually require us to sacrifice the very things that make us beautifully, wonderfully human today?
That's the question, because a world without friction might just be a world without fire.
It's a lot to think about.
It really is. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we will catch you on the next one.